If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's certain tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Hey guys, it's Kylie and Zori back on the podcast today. And today our main topic is going to be how to be the best version of yourself. But we're going to start with opening that today hits Mercury in retrograde in Capricorn.
Yeah. It says technically the 29th. Today is like the 28th.
Oh, it is.
But it also says that it's already
pre-shadow
started.
Too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. There's like, because there's pre-shadow. So
yeah.
Certain websites will be like the pre-shadow starts like 2 weeks prior, I think.
Sometimes it's confusing, but either way, this is your warning right now.
Also, don't mind that I have a cold, so I'm going to sound kind of nasally. But, okay. So, what we were reading about Mercury is that, like, the two signs that won't get that affected and that will have an easy one is Taurus and Virgo, which is me. But Zori's going to touch on some stuff about it.
Yeah, so basically, I'm reading this off Instagram. But basically, it'll be a powerful retrograde to reflect on themes of personal power and abundance, love and relationships too. So a lot of it's like honesty, speaking your truth. This is a good moment to practice like honesty, speaking your truth, like trusting yourself. And then like lots of lessons are probably gonna like come up to release certain like blockages.
I feel like I'm hoping this one won't be that stressful because
I don't think it will.
Capricorn's not that bad of a sign.
I think it's just transformational. I think that's
Which
what
is
it
perfect.
is. I think because it's like right at the new year. I think it's
That's
just
why it's perfect,
basically like everything that I read is basically shit that you should be doing anyway if you're like spiritually, just like if you practice any kind of spiritual practice, like you should be doing it anyway around the new year, which is reflecting and finding out like what worked in the past year and what didn't, and trying to just kind of like really hone in like all your skills to become like the best version of yourself, which is
yes,
what
perfect.
we're about to talk about.
Perfect for the new year since we are rolling into that in about like 4 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, like how to be the best version of yourself.
So what did I wrote? So this is from my little journal of podcast topics. So I put that the episode is like you're the only thing in your way, which is really the truth. And I think it's like a hard truth that a lot of people don't.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
It is, because a lot of people don't want to believe that they might be the problem. And that's not to say that you're always the problem, but I think it's always important to ask yourself if you're the problem.
Right, but if you're the problem, you're your solution as well.
Yeah, so. It's not the end of the world if you're the problem. And it's okay. Nobody's perfect. But to be the best version of yourself, you do have to, like, kind of the first step is to realize that there's things that you need to, like...
And I think that you'll always be working on yourself. I don't think you'll ever stop, obviously. Yeah. You can always keep growing as a human and keep bettering yourself. And, I'm
going to say right now, the best version of yourself is a version of yourself that knows it's never done. Yeah. Like evolving. Yeah. The version of yourself that knows that there's always more evolving and learning that you can do is the best version of yourself. And that, I feel like I've reached a point in my life where I'm kind of that way, where it's like, how can I be better? Okay, like, you're never complacent. You should never be, like, fully just like, okay, yeah, I've reached it and this is perfection, because it doesn't exist. Right. So... really, you should always be growing.
And you wouldn't want to, like, reach that. Because
that's boring. Then what's
the
point? What do you have to work towards?
Right, exactly. How are you going to better yourself for the rest of your 30 years if you figure yourself out by 40, you know? Yeah. So think, like, at a younger age, the sooner you start trying to work on yourself, just think about how good you could be 20 years from now.
I think about that all the time because I feel like older generations are, like, kind of just now learning things that we're learning, like, young.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even just, like, emotional, like... Like, I think I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I was like, I feel like there's, like, lots of 60-year-old men who still, like, punch a wall when they get mad.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't just fucking buy a journal, like,
well,
like, you know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like, like, the younger generation is, like, starting to, like, we're not perfect, but we are starting to, like, learn, like, those, like, emotional lessons that, like, older generations haven't yet. So it's like, where are we going to be in our 60s when I'm, like, right now, like, okay, I need to be able to, like, ground myself when I'm feeling emotionally distraught and I'm, like, not lashing out at other people. Like, I feel like we're just going to be elevated as fuck.
Right.
like,
and
later
here's the thing
on.
is the older generation is so much stuck in their ways that they don't feel like they should be growing, and they kind of want to stay stuck.
Yeah,
I don't know,
fine
it's something...
with that. They're, like...
It's weird.
It is very, like, I mean, not to generalize, obviously not all of them. There's a lot of old people that are, like, fucking, they were hippies in the 70s and they're, like, trying to learn and stuff. But I think, like, the majority of the older generations are very, like, this is how it's always been and this is how it always will be. And I'm just not that kind of person.
No.
I feel like I'm always, like, what is next for me to elevate myself? You know what I mean? That's just never, like, the end. And also, it's not linear either. Like, you know how many times I've, like... gotten into a really good routine and then it like something fucks it and then I have to like find my way back to that routine. So.
I mean that's hard too, like discipline and routine. That's always going to be something you'll probably struggle with at some point or with something.
I think a lot of people give up once their routine is like ruined.
Fucked.
And it's like you just have to like find out the next, you know, marker. So how to be the best version of yourself. But I think my the first point is, what do you want your life to look like?
Because you create your own life, your own reality. Here it is.
So no, that's so true, and it does like fold into manifestation and like and just like knowing that you are in control, because I think a lot of people don't feel like they're in control, and it's more than just like wishing and hoping for something and having it just like pop up. I think it's like a mix of just like working for it and then like knowing it could be a reality. You know what I mean? If you tell yourself you're never going to be able to be anything important, you never will be.
Right. But like the moment you realize that you control your life and that you write your script and that you can change your mind every other day if you want to get yourself where you want to be in life, the day you figure that out is like mind-blowing, because you can do anything.
It's
and
freeing. I think it overwhelms a lot of people, but I personally find it super freeing.
I think it's nice because, the thing with religion is, like, it seems like it's very, like, your life is already planned out.
Yeah.
That's what they, like, believe in.
Yeah, and I feel like
which is great. That, like, makes me feel so
much
suffocating.
From me. Yeah, like,
it
I
makes
feel like
me
it just
feel,
takes every opportunity away from me.
It makes you feel so small and suffocating knowing that someone had already planned out your life for you, and, like, that's whack, because... There's so many different things you can do that will lead you to something else. And then if you just change that by a little bit, like the butterfly effect. Like, but the fact that you could think that your life is already paneled out from like 20 years from now, like that's insane. Because there's so many things you can do to change that. How would that even... like, the butterfly effect is crazy.
No, it really is. There's so many things that I look back on and I'm like, if it was just this one little interaction that, like made me have this friend, or, like, this one little interaction that, like, brought me to, like, I don't know, like, wherever I am now, it's, like, crazy, the little things that you are in control. And I think a lot of people, because they don't feel like they're in control, end up with the whole, like, victim complex, right?
Yeah.
So it's, like, the whole, are you always the victim thing? And it really does connect, because it's like, oh, well, like, if everything is, I'm not in control of my life, so anything bad that happens is not my fault. And it's not like, and it might not be.
And sometimes it's not.
Yeah, sometimes it's not, but sometimes it is.
But most of the time, the thing is, you can pretty much root it down.
Exactly.
And it most likely, even if it was you just being a little bit careless and not thinking thoroughly, like, do something that yeah, I mean, it's not always your fault, but most of the time, if you really break it down, like, people just don't want to put the blame on themselves.
This is what I'm also going to say, too. Even if it's not your fault, you are in control of how you react to things. And I think people really forget that, and that's a huge part of, like, whatever, right? So I think people almost, like, get really excited when something is, like, totally not their fault, because then they can just, like, wallow in it and be, like, upset about it. And it's, like, it's really not a big deal. Like, you really need to learn how to, like, control how you react. So you can't control everything that happens to you, which is also something that's, like, overwhelming, but I feel like a little bit freeing, because it's, like, once I realized it, you have to, like, put it into practice, right? So, like, it took a minute for this to, like, be something that came a little bit easier to me. But once you realize, like, if you're upset about any situation, you have to think, am I in control, or anxious even about a situation? Am I in control of the outcome? Like, say you apply for a job, or say you're, like, you've been on bad terms with, like, your partner, and they, like, are like, hey, can we talk? And now you're, like, anxious, right? Ask yourself, can I control the outcome of this? The answer is no. So I know it's easier said than done, but being anxious about it and, like, worrying yourself sick about it is not going to help you any. And that's not to say just turn it off, because you can't just turn it off. Yeah. But that's to tell yourself to, like, calm down instead of feeding into it and being like, oh, well, what if they say this and what if they say that? Like, your brain's going to do that naturally, and that's not your fault. But the best you can do is be like, well, I'm not in control of it. So why don't I do something else to distract myself? Why don't I do blah, blah, blah until I'm able to, like, understand the outcome? Or if, like, I don't know, if you're somewhere and they get, like, if you're somebody that gets, like, really mad when, like, your order comes out wrong or something like that, like, you can control how you react to it. And a lot of times, once you're reacting, like, calm, you end up, like, with a way better outcome. Right. Like, I have such a, like, careless, like, when shit just goes wrong, I'm like, hey, this ended up wrong. And then I end up getting shit for, like, free a lot of times. Like, that happened to me with, like, a coffee situation. Like, it was, like, just a weird situation. They were like, you know what? It's on us. And I came at them super calm. I was like, oh, like, this isn't really, like, what, you know, I just wanted something else. Like, it's totally fine. I have time. You guys can remake. They were like, it's on us. It's on us. I was like, oh, okay. Like, so it's very much like you have to not always be the victim. No. It is. Ask yourself how you can be and react better. Right.
It is hard because sometimes I want to respond with anger. And sometimes I do. But definitely, like, with you with the coffee situation, like, if something's wrong, like, I've, over the years, like, encouraged myself up to, like, be able to say that it was wrong, though.
Yeah, some people can't even say,
Yeah, just because it's, like, you paid for it. If that's not what you ordered, like, I want to make sure, like, that's crucial to me, you know what I mean? I can't suffer through something I didn't even order, I didn't want. So over the years, I had to build that courage up, but, like, I don't come at them, like, rudely or aggressively, but, like, more just directly, just to know what I want and make sure,
and that's a huge thing, too, because, and that comes with, like, confidence, because I think there's a lot of people I know who are, like, super introverted, and they're like, if something comes out wrong, I'm not even going to say anything. Yeah. And I'm like, that's also not the answer, though. Because you need to understand that you can say something without being an asshole. Yeah. And that comes from, like, an internal, like,
confidence.
It's confidence, but also, like, self-love, not to be like too much in it. I'm not saying you hate yourself if you're not going to tell somebody that your food came out wrong, but, like, what is it in you that doesn't want to stick up for yourself and say, like, hey, this came out wrong, like, it's totally fine, but can I just get it made the right way? Right. Because I'm telling you right now, I've been vegan 6 years. If I get something with cheese on it and I paid for it,
right, you paid for
I'm gonna have them remake it. Yeah. I'm not gonna yell at them, because shit fucking happens, like, whatever. Yeah. But I'm just gonna have them remake it, because
you know what you want, expensive. And you stick up for yourself. Yeah. I think that's also, like, it's confidence, it's attractive if you stick up for yourself in the right way, but it is self-love, because I can't stand to, like, see people when they just, like, cowardly down, and they're like, I'm not gonna say anything, it's fine. And it's like, I'm no, but you don't like that. Yeah. You don't want that. Like, that's not what you ordered. Yeah. You don't even like that, and I know you don't like that. So just, like, so then I end up, like, doing it for them sometimes.
It's the balance, like, right? It's the not being, like, overly reactive, and it's not being underly reactive. It's sticking up for yourself in situations
in a respectful way.
Because there's also situations where I'm just like, oh, fucking, like, whatever. But it's usually when it's not that big of a deal, and it's not something that affects me like crazy. Right. Like, like, I've gotten a coffee before that was, like, too sweet, and I know they put, like, more than I asked for. Yeah. But I'm like, it's not. You're like, it's not a big deal. I'm like, if it's something big, like, they put regular milk instead of almond milk, then I'm going to say something. Yeah. But, like, little things, like, you can decide when it's, like, a big deal for you or not, and only you would know that. But you have to be able to, like, know when to say something and know when to not. And that's, like, that comes with confidence and self-love. Like, 100%. What was the next thing? Oh, are you challenging yourself?
Yes.
That's a big one. That's a really big one. I feel like so many people... That comes with, like, the complacent thing, I think. So many people get, like, so comfortable, and they never move on. They never get better. They're never challenging themselves.
See, this is a hard topic, because...
It is.
I'm someone who's super comfortable and stuck in my ways sometimes with certain things, but, like, wanting to, like, branch out and put myself in... I want to, like, be in situations that are different, but I don't want to be uncomfortable. Yeah. And that's such a hard pill.
Here's the thing. I think people don't, like... Because I'm, like, a huge, like, challenge yourself type of bitch. Because And it came from me just being bored. Like, I just was like, I just need... something new. That's where my, like, phone timer came from. Because I'm too...
You can mention that. No, that's a good...
So what happened is... Because now I can tell you the story, too. Yeah, I'll tell a quick little story. So what happened is early, like, when I first moved back to college this past semester, it was, like, in August. It was fine because it was, like, new. But, like, a month in, I was, like... okay, I'm bored. Mm-hmm. And it was, like, just a month being back. I was like, I'm bored. I was like, I'm doing the same thing every fucking day. I was like, I need change. I need to put in a new routine. So, and I realized it wasn't even that I was spending a long time on my phone or an extra long period of time on my phone. It's just that I was on my phone when I could have been doing something else to, like, not be bored. I was bored because I was on my phone all the fucking time, and there's not that much on your phone. Yeah. So I was like, I set myself a timer for 30 minutes a day on Instagram and TikTok for screen time. And this wasn't like, I mean, this can be whatever, but it wasn't a thing where it was like, I am not going to be on my phone and I'm better than other people for not being on my phone. It was more like, I'm going to be on my phone, but I'm going to spread it out. So I was like, okay, I only have 30 minutes. So, like, I'm not going to be on Instagram super long, but it's because it's, you know, the doom scrolling, like, endless scrolling. Yep. There's never, like, an end. Stuck in the portal. So you can totally get stuck in it. And that's, like, normal, and that's fine. There's nothing to be ashamed of about it, but I just needed something to kind of be like, hey, bitch, like, get the fuck off the thing. Yeah. So I did that, and I bought a book. I bought 3 books. One self-help, one poetry, and one fiction. And I was like, okay, I'll just, like, read. And then I was like, I want to start doing yoga and working out a little bit more. And just by working out, I just mean, like, Pilates in my room, like, 10 minutes. I'm not talking, like, go to the gym for fucking an hour. You could do that, too, but, like, it's little shit, right? So then it was like, I'd be like on TikTok, right? I hit that, like, oh, you've hit your time limit. I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, all right, well, this is actually good. What can I do? And then I'd pick up a book for, like, and then I'm, like, sucked in the book next thing I know. And then, or even just something different, right? Like, I'll be like, oh, this is actually a good time for me to do my laundry that I've been meaning to do. Like, or even just, like, I could do a 10-minute workout, right? And it's like, I use TikTok in, like, mostly TikTok for, like, other things than just, like, scrolling. I'll look up recipes on there.
Yeah, TikTok's actually really informational.
I'll look up, like, workouts on there. So it's like I would, like, break the screen time to go in to, like, find something. But it wasn't like I can't be on it at all. It was very loose reins of just, like, I need to change up my routine. And so I need something to, like, kind of force me to, like, look in another direction and look up from my phone. So that's why I did that. So challenging yourself, it can be as small as, like, and it varies, like, a personal situation, right? Because, like, there's people who, like, run every day already, right? And you could say that they're challenging themselves, but if you're doing the same thing every day, you're not necessarily challenging yourself. How can I change it up? What can I do different? I I did like the whole 30 days of yoga like 2 years ago.
Yeah, you told
and I
me that.
loved that. That was super fun. It was very different for me and it was a challenge and I wasn't perfect at it. I think that too. We need to stop being so hard on ourselves for everything. Yeah. If you try to challenge yourself and you fail one day, it is not that big of a deal. Just pick up the next day. Yeah. I think that's the whole like being super hard on yourself too stops you from continuing to challenge yourself because you're like, oh, I fucked up now, so...
Right.
There's no point in keeping, like, going.
Maybe it's something that you realize that you don't even like to do. And then just pick a new thing.
No, but like, that's a cool thing, too, because then you, like, learned. At least you didn't like to do it. So, you know, let me start... like collaging, let me start like crochet, like let me pick up a new hobby.
Random stuff.
My number one hobby is picking up hobbies, and it's kind of like really bad because then I'll be like, oh, like I want to read this book, but I also want to crochet, but I also want to like start roller skating again, and then I'm overwhelmed. So it's like it's a lot, but also it is super fun because I always have something to go back to. Like I haven't played ukulele in like maybe 2 years.
I remember that.
But now I know, and I haven't played in like 2 years. I mean, I never was like super good at it, but like it was fun, something to do here and there. And I haven't played it in like 2 years, and I've been thinking lately like, oh, I kind of want to go back and like play a little bit. And it's always fun to like just have something you can pick up. If you find yourself bored, you're probably not challenging yourself.
Right.
So I feel like that's a huge like thing to just think about, and it can just be so small. It can be like, I want to challenge myself to make one recipe a week from like a blog or like a cookbook or something, or try one new food a week, or eat one new place this month. Like
it can be anything.
Try something I've never tried before. Like if you go like a good example is like every time I go to Wegmans, I see like those like exotic fruits.
Oh,
and it's like you could just be like, you know, this week, every week this month, I'm going to try a new fruit from that section. And then it's just like a fun little thing. And now you're like, I got to go get my passion fruit. And you're cutting open like a green, like fucking fruit in front of your family. And they're like, what the fuck's that? And you're like,
that's also like kind of self-love because then it's like, and you look forward to it.
It is something to look forward to is so important, I feel like.
It is.
It can get, life is so monotonous and it can get so fucking boring, even if you're happy. Because, like, I would say I'm the happiest I've been in my whole life, and I still am just, like, a lot of the times, like, what the fuck is the point of all of this? I'm like, this is so boring. And when I find myself doing that, I'm like, I have to remind myself I'm not the victim. I'm in control, and I need to, like, do something different. Go on a walk. Listen to a new podcast. Like, just go out of my... like, it doesn't have to be bungee jumping or skydiving. Like, you can challenge yourself in little ways of just, like, challenge yourself to change your routine. Like... 100%. It will change your life for the better. Even if you're happy in your routine and not bored, like, change it up.
But you don't need to even change it drastically.
Yeah,
just
it's
add,
so small.
Like, you don't need to be like, you don't need to add something drastic in, but just little things can help.
Yeah. Say yes to something you normally say no to. That was one of my things.
Oh.
I think for a while I just was like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. Like, I'm just tired. I don't want to see anybody. And then I, like... a group of people I work with that I, like, normally don't, like, hang out with outside of work, they were like, do you want to come to dinner with us? And I was, like, going to be like, no. And I was like, oh, I'll go. And I got to, like, know some people. I mean, we weren't, like, super close or anything, but we got to know each other, like, a little bit more. And it was, like, fun. It was just cute. You know, it's just, like, challenge yourself to, like, little things can change your whole perspective.
Have you seen the movie Yes Man?
Yes,
that's literally what that just reminded me of.
Yes, that movie is so good.
That's so good.
That's
Jim
a perfect
Carrey,
example.
Right? That's, if you guys have not seen that movie, go watch it.
That's
it's a good
really good example.
Movie.
And I actually just saw that movie, like, for the first time, like, maybe last year.
Me too.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Because, like, it was always on my list, but then my mom was, like, watching something. She was like, oh, we should watch this. And I was like,
it's
I've been meaning to
watch it.
It's
he just
so good.
makes himself say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Go watch
it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
The next bullet point is, are you the main character? This is a good one, too, because I feel like this was a popular topic on, like, social media this past year.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, you know, like, be the main character. And I feel like it almost kind of, I mean, like, the internet, like, takes everything and, like, finds a way to ruin it. So I feel like this was one of those ones that kind of got misconstrued and everybody just started, like, hyping up their ego.
True.
But the main character thing is not about ego. I want to say it's completely separate from ego, right? I mean, it might not be completely separate, but I think to an extent people, like, took it too far where it's like, it's all about me. And it's like, okay, it's not all about you. But there are points, like, where, okay, the whole are you the main character situation, right? Like, are you I think this is different. This is the difference between, like, active people versus passive people. Because I feel like there's a lot of people who are very just, like, passive and just kind of, like, let shit happen around them. And then there's people who activate and then kind of, like... So, are you the person that's going to, like, say something if you see something? Are you the type of person that's going to, like, put out an idea... Like, of something, like, if you're in a group of friends and people are like, oh, like, what should we do? Are you the person that's going to wait for somebody else to say something? Or are you somebody who's going to put out an idea? You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
It's, like, taking initiative and, like, kind of letting yourself be front and center every once in a while, right? And that's not to say that, like, everything is about you. Because I always see people and I'll be like, they're having a main character moment. Like, they're the main... I'd be like, we're actually side characters in their story right now. So it's like, everybody has their moments of, like, you know, being a main character and being a side character. So you don't have to be a main character all the time, but... I think the thought of being a protagonist is somebody who's moving the story along. Like, are you just sitting back? Are you the extra in the back of the math class? Or are you the person that's like... oh my God, it's about me. And I feel like this also is a huge thing of, like, being delusional in the best way. And this is, did I text you saying I was delusional? I texted somebody.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I was like, no, I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, I'm delusional and I live in a state of delusion constantly. And
I think you texted me.
It's literally the only thing that keeps me going. And that is a part of romanticizing your life. And I know people always talk about that, but it's so important to just, even in your worst times, like, I think it very much turned into a coping mechanism for a lot of this generation, which is even, like, I feel like that's fine. But, like, when I'm always like, oh, I'm ready for this plot point to be over. Like, I'm ready for, like, this point in the movie to be, like, fucking, like, you know, kind of making your life, like, a story and seeing what you can learn from it. Because, you know, the one thing about, like, storylines in movies is that there's always, like, a beginning, middle, and, like, lesson to be learned. You know what I mean? So if you kind of think of your life as, like, if you romanticize it and make it something fun.
It's fun to romanticize your life.
Yeah, it's like, not, life doesn't have to be something that just happens to you.
It's like, I don't know, like, taking yourself out to get food that you want. You don't even have to eat there, but, like, just getting your favorite food that you want.
Yeah, I told somebody that I was going to Philly for this concert. Yeah. Well, no, I was telling somebody else. And they were like, that's so scary. You're so brave. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm just going to... They were like, alone? I was like, it's fine. Like, you know, like, I'm taking precautions. Like, it was like a thing where I was like, I need something to look forward to. So I booked a ticket and I was like, I don't have anybody that listens to this artist with me. So I'm going to go on my own and I can, like, travel on my own and do it. And it's going to be fun. Or even just, like, going to, like, shit on campus. Like, I have a friend that, like, won't really go to anything unless all of us go. Yeah. But, like, would go. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just go if you wanted to go? Right. Like, you know what I mean? So it's, like...
Some people just don't. It's a lot of different things. It's, like, confidence.
Yeah, and it's not... I'm not, like, judging or anything, but it's definitely a thing where it's, like... If you can't, like... You should be able to do things that you want to do alone or with other people. And that's just a part of saying, like, you're not just a part of other people's story. You're your own person and you can make your own decisions. So, yes, romanticize your life. Like, go think about, if you don't really understand this concept, because it's kind of, like, weird, I guess, to think about if you're not doing it already. Think about, like, if I was in a movie right now, like, what would I be doing? Right. Or if this was a movie, like, even me doing my homework, I'll be like, oh, I don't, like, want to do my homework, but, like, I need to, like, I'll just picture myself in, like, you know those movie montages where they're, like, busting out a bunch of work and they're like, oh, my God, and then they have to, like, drink the coffee. Like, I picture myself like that, and I'm like, oh, I just gotta bust this out really quick.
See, it's small shit.
It makes everything so much more fun if you do it that way. And, I mean, obviously, it's not always the solution, but definitely it's, like...
Like, it's even something small as, like, getting ready for this podcast. Like, ooh, it's so fun. Like, let's get coffee and make bullet points and, like,
or even record just getting ready to go nowhere.
Right.
Oh, my God. That's my favorite fucking thing to do.
Sometimes
I think I realized a lot, too, especially, like, in the winter, because, like, my outfits, I'm, like, I can't put them together as much.
Yeah.
It's, like, or even just the summer. If you're somebody who goes, everywhere in, like, sweatpants and a t-shirt, like, that's not bad at all. Like, I fuck with that so hard. That's not bad at all. But if you find yourself bored, this goes with changing your routine. If you find yourself bored, literally get dressed up like a fucking babe to go to Target. Mm-hmm. And, like, just strut like it's all about you, and just tell me how you feel after that.
Yeah, like...
Tell me how you feel after that. You cannot tell me... Like, I put on hoop earrings and mascara to go to... Like, if I'm bored or not feeling great, like, sometimes I'll be in a bad mood because something bad happened, or just, like, a shitty, like... It's a shitty time, or, like, I had a shitty night at work, and, like, the next day I'm just kind of... It's, like, carrying with me, and I'm like, what can I do? I'm like, I'm gonna make myself look hot. And I'm gonna go out, and I'm gonna fucking strut, and I'm just gonna pretend like it's all about me. Like, it doesn't have to be a situation where you can shake ass in your room. Like, dance, dance to music in your room. Like, dancing, I feel like, is so... Like, this is, like, my hot take about dancing. I feel like nobody dances anymore, like, for fun. I feel like everybody's so awkward about dancing, and they're like, oh, I don't want to, like... And I'm just like, be fucking... If you feel, like, weird about dancing, literally do the weirdest move you can fucking think of, and just keep doing that. Like, I swear to God, like, it's
perfect
just...
the weirdest move.
No, it's so fun to just, like, let go of, like, think of what other people think about you, and just, like, whatever. And it's a process. It's not going to happen to you overnight.
Yeah.
But if you're working on it, you know... It's gonna get easier.
Like, I look forward to my days that, like, if I don't have work, I'll be like, ooh, like, I get to go get my power tea and protein shake today.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that the other day.
I'm gonna, like, do my laundry. I'm gonna, like, pick up my room. I'm gonna, like, get some stuff done that I want to do, you know, like, just, like, I don't know.
Put on a play. I love putting on, like a moody playlist to, like, clean up my room, and I'll just be singing the songs, and I'll clean up my room.
I like to do that.
Light a candle, like...
Yes.
Make it extra. Be extra as fuck. And tell me how you feel after. Yeah. Like, you're gonna feel a lot better.
I like to do that, or put on a good podcast, or put on my record player, honestly. Lana's the vibe.
Lana's always a vibe.
Because, okay, Lana is
romanticizing every fucking thing.
Like, if you...
A breakup, a fucking... You're just, like, you feel like you're there.
Every album of hers is her romanticizing some part of her life. And if you need inspiration, go look her up and look at her albums and listen to them.
Take a shower with the music on. Make it all about you. Play it loud. Like, it's
so
just
vibey.
It's so fun to do that. So make yourself the main character.
Even, like, decorate or change up a room, or, like, go to the store and, like, buy a couple things that you wanted to. Like,
yeah.
The next one, let's see. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Are the people around you a reflection of who you want to be / what you want your life to look like?
This one is also a big one.
That's a big one, and I feel like also has to do with a lot of times people just feel like they have friends to have friends.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely, it's hard because as a kid, you're not really looking for that, and you're just friends with whoever up until the age that you realize, oh, like, maybe I don't want to be around these people because maybe they're not benefiting me. You honestly might not even realize that till your early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And I don't know who needs to hear this, but you do not have to keep being friends with that person just because you guys had math class. In high school. Like, you do not have to keep entertaining a friendship. And that's not like you have to text them and say, like, you're a piece of shit and I don't want you in my life. Just let shit fade out. Like, or even just, like, stop asking them to hang out. I know so many people who, like I had dinner with this one girl, and she's like, yeah, like, my friends from home, like, I'm not excited to see them over break. And I was like, oh, that's just... I was like, that's interesting. And I was like, well, like, why don't you just, like, not be their friend? She's like, well, it's just, like, weird. Like, I'm not, like, big on confrontation. So it's just, like, I just keep hanging out with them. And I'm like, that's how you make your life as miserable as you can make it. Like, why would you want to be around people you don't like?
Yeah.
And then you wonder why you're miserable. Like, that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean,
it's not, like, and I'm not saying you should cut these people off, like, overnight, but it's, like, you don't have to, like, you know, and this also was somebody who is, like, was having dinner with, like, one of their coworkers, and they were like, oh, it's awkward because they're my coworker, but, like, they're so, like, rude and kind of annoying, like, when we go to dinner. And I was like, just start ignoring them when they ask you to go to dinner. And she's like, oh, well, here's what you're not going to like. Half the time I'm asking to go to dinner with them. And I was like,
what?
Why? And they're like, well, just it's something to do. And I'm like,
well, and how about you do that with yourself then?
It's very, like, don't be complacent. Don't just let people... I think this is a huge one that has to do with self-love, because it's like, if you value yourself and your time, you're not going to hang around people that you don't feel like are valuable.
Right.
So I feel like if you do have a lot of people around you where you're like, oh, I don't like them that much, I think you really should take a look at yourself and ask yourself why you feel the need to be around people. So many people are afraid to be alone.
Yes, and that's a huge one.
And I know I'm coming from a place where it's kind of easy for me to be alone. I am an only child. I've been alone, like, most of my life. Like, I don't have a huge family. Being alone is easier for me.
It's, like, second nature.
Yeah, it is it's so easy to me. So I understand that, like...
It's probably easier than not.
Than being with people. Yeah, no, 100%. So I'm, like... but I am also, like, super extroverted and like, want to meet new people. Good. So it's like, it's a
good, healthy balance.
Yeah, it's very balanced for me. But there's a lot of people who feel like, oh, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. What are you running away from? Why are you running away so hard that you're ending up hanging out with people you don't even like? Yeah. Like, spend some time with yourself and figure out who you are. I think a lot of people are unconsciously, or not unconsciously, maybe unconsciously. They're not, like, trying to, but they're doing it kind of, like... subconsciously. Yeah, subconsciously, like, running away from themselves by hanging out with just, like, anybody who will say yes.
Well, so...
Like, they'll just hang out with anybody because it's just something to do to get away from being... Oh, I think the real reason people are scared to be alone is because you're alone with your thoughts. I think my ex was definitely like that a lot. She was like, I don't want to be alone because then, like... I just keep thinking, and I'm like, then you probably should be alone and think about what you're trying not to think about. Like,
so it can be that, or I know it was for me that I never wanted to be alone because I was, like, avoiding my responsibilities. So if I always had something to do, then I was always too busy for my, like, responsibilities, because it just seemed like a lot of work to, like, take a whole day to clean my room when I could go off with one of my friends and do something better.
That's also, it was like, I feel like I've done that before, too.
It was like a mix of that, though, because then, like, also if you're going through a breakup or a hard time, you're also like, okay, I don't want to do my responsibilities, and I don't want to think about why I'm upset or sad, so let me just cure it with just hanging out with my friends on the daily.
And that's not to say you should isolate either, because I know a lot of people who isolate, and that's not, like, great, but you need to find the balance, you know? If you're not in the headspace to go out, don't say yes just so you don't have to think about things.
Right.
Like, I had, like, one of my coworkers, like, a little over a year ago was going through a breakup, and all of our coworkers were like, we're gonna, like, you need to come get drunk with us. And I was like, maybe not, like, get fucked up. Maybe you guys should just have, like, a fun girly night. Yeah. Just, like, a chill, like, don't try to get fucked up. Yeah, blasted.
Obliterated.
But, like, have, like, a chill night and, like, hang out with some people. And then spend some time alone and think about it and journal about it. Cry about it, like, feel your fucking feelings. I feel so many people are scared to feel their feelings, and I feel like it's not even their fault, because I think a lot of people grow up in situations where they're not allowed to feel their feelings.
Right.
So it's like, but you really need to. I'm not even gonna lie to you. You get over stuff so much faster when you feel. Yeah. I know people who still aren't over stuff from years ago, and it's because they're never allowing themselves to fully get over it. Right. They just keep pushing it to the side. Or pushing it underneath everything else. So it's like you have to feel it and let it out and all that other stuff.
Actually gets trapped in your nervous system.
It does. Like, no, it does.
Which is crazy.
We hold shit physically.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy. So, yeah, I mean, that kind of goes with, like, it's crazy because, like, being alone kind of goes with the friendship thing of, like, are the people around you a reflection of, you know, who you are and who you want to be? Because if they're not, and that too, once you have people around you who are like, you know, if you're sitting here like, I want to be that girl who I want to, like, go out and I want to, like, you know, I want to exercise more and I want to, like, take care of myself, and all your friends are like all the time like, oh, like, let's go to McDonald's and let's like smoke weed and just like sit around, you know what I mean? Right. It's like, it's not, there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't align with what you want.
It's very low vibrational.
So you can't, so you can't sit here and be like, why am I not who I want to be, when no one around you is like that either? Like, you know, you attract what you are. So I think that too is, it comes
you
to
attract
like,
what you reciprocate.
Yeah, so it's like, if you're allowing that, that's what you're allowing, you know what I mean?
Right. And also back to the thing where you said, like, if someone's nervous to, like, be like, no, like, I don't want to hang out with you guys anymore, and they're just, like, hanging out with you for comfort. If you don't know how to, like, navigate, like, how to break that friendship off, just slowly, like, slowly grow apart from
yeah,
them.
It's so, that's like, actually easier, too, and you don't have to, like, fully be like, bye. Just, like, let the hangouts get, like less and
just
less.
You don't initiate the hangout. Yeah. And if they ask you to hang out, be like, just think of something that you have better to do that's better in your life, and then do that.
You don't even have to lie about it. Yeah, you can just straight up be like, oh, like, I'm not really feeling like going out, and then eventually they'll stop asking or whatever, and it's
they'll
like,
feel the vibe is just growing apart.
You can just, like, grow apart. And honestly, if you're I'm gonna be honest, if you're actually putting in the work to, like, be whoever you want to be, and they don't align with that, it will just kind of happen naturally. Right. Because you will have something better to do. Because you're constantly working on yourself. You're like, oh, like, I got this job that I'm trying to, like, save up money for, so, like, I can't go. Or, I'm actually trying to, I decided to, like, challenge myself to be sober this month. So, like, and all you do is drink and smoke. So I can't.
Right, you could even say that.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, if you're challenging yourself to, different things, it's gonna kind of happen naturally, but
it's way easier to probably break it off like that than to have a blowout of a fight and just have it end like that, because then you'll end off with like trauma from the fight
and trauma, and then like, you'll have bad blood with somebody, and you don't want that either.
Right, and then you feel like it was never like resolved, or like you have no closure with it.
It'll feel just like, and you don't want to do that, and
it'll feel terrible for
generally
years.
Too, nobody's better than anybody else. Everybody's just at different stages. So if you start to actually get your shit together and you're like, oh, I'm too good for this person, that's ego, and that needs to be shut down. That person is probably in some phase of their life where it's like, you might be like above them energetically right now, but it's like you're not like better, you know what I mean? Like, you just need to like rein it in. And on the opposite end, to make friends that align with your things, you need to be able to be willing to put yourself out there and say hi. And maybe when you go to like a yoga or a spin class, or like your whatever, like, or you notice somebody, maybe you got into crystals and you notice somebody's wearing a crystal. What crystal's around your neck? And then
usually do that.
Yeah, you start a whole conversation, and you can find people that are like very much in the same vibe as you. And so that's how you make and end friendships.
That's definitely
I feel like it's a huge part of like being the best version of yourself, is like who is around you. Your environment very much is a reflection of what's going on inside, and vice versa.
For sure. Okay. So we're just about out of time. So we're probably going to make this a 2-part podcast. Since it's such an interesting and long topic.
Yeah, we have definitely a couple more bullet points to get through, but we're not going to keep you here forever.
So we have a couple more bullet points to get through, and then that's going to lead into next week's topic of confidence. So it goes hand in hand with how to be the best version of yourself and confidence, just around the time for the new year.
And my big theory of everyone has the potential to be hot, and ugly people don't exist.
Yep, that's going to be the next topic.
So we'll get into that in part 2, but for now, you'll have to wait.
Yeah, we'll leave you reminiscing with this and think about what we just, everything we just said, and we will see you guys next time.